everybody. Welcome to another episode of Eyes on Geopolitics. I'm here with Mick Mulroy. I'm Dimitri Kontakos. A little bit of housekeeping. Mick's got a new podcast called The Pub and the Porch, Applied Stoicism. It's all about Stoicism. He's got a great co-host too, Adam Piercy. I listen to that pod every week. Check it out. It comes out on Mondays, right?
It does, yes.
Videos coming soon as well. So you can grab it anywhere, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. I'll have a link in the description as well, so check it out there. What's going on, Mick? A lot happening. It looks like we're about to attack inside Venezuela. I'm still trying to understand why we're doing this. I don't know if the American people are really interested in like another war. Just a little bit of context. Russia voiced support for Venezuela. I don't even know what that means. Like, what can they even do? Maduro asked for help from allies, quote-unquote, China, Russia, and Iran. Requested defensive radars, aircraft repairs, and possibly missiles. And I parenthesize, too little, too late. Probably should have asked for this a couple months ago. A lot of U.S. hardware in the Caribbean. I'm going to put in, like, a little graphic, I think that Reuters did, that, like, shows, like, everything that's going on down there, and it's a ton. Trump was asked about it, I think, on the way back from the China summit. Or the Asia, his Asia tour. Trump denied it as a fake story. Said same thing before we hit the Iranian nuclear site. So, take that for what it's worth. And a little fun fact. This is the largest buildup unrelated to disaster relief since 1994, when we had 2 aircraft carriers and 20,000 troops deployed to Haiti for Operation Uphold Democracy. So, Mick. You like that little fun fact? It's not really a fun fact, to be honest, but it's kind of shitty fact. But what do you make of this?
So, Dee, we've been talking about this a couple of times. One thing I think most analysts would say is this is obviously far more than what's needed to just strike boats taking illicit narcotics to the United States, right? Not that they can't do that, but they certainly don't need. I think we're at 8 warships now, which includes several destroyers, cruisers, an amphibious ready group with a Marine Expeditionary Unit, several squadrons being pushed to Puerto Rico, our strategic bombers doing flights by Venezuela. We have the USS Gerald R. Ford. I think it's probably leaving the Mediterranean right now. It will be on station in the Caribbean with its 3 or 4 escort vessels, which are all significant. By the birthday of my beloved Corps, is what I'm told, November 10th. It's supposed to be on station in the Caribbean. That would bring it up to 12, 13, and a considerable portion of our naval assets.
Yeah, I'm putting up a thing on the screen right now. I'm sharing the screen where it shows a ton of like the action as of I think 31st, so as of Friday night. And it's a ton of shit. It's more stuff than I think is probably needed, but we don't even know what the plan is, to be honest.
Right. The Gerald R. Ford is DOD will tell you is the most sophisticated naval weapon system in the world, right? So, which is good that we have it. So that's what's happening. People can speculate. There's a lot of speculation on Friday that, something was going to happen. There was notice to airmen, the NOTAMs, blocking off restricted airspaces, apparently. That was public. And then, of course, the White House denied it. And then, of course, the people who were speculating said, well, that's what they did before we did the airstrikes on Iran. So it obviously didn't happen, or we'd be talking about it right now. But it's clear that, to me at least, it's either one or two things. We're trying to set up so much force that it's not deterrence, right? Venezuela wasn't going to attack the United States. Perhaps it is deterrence for these associated narco-terrorists bring drugs to the United States, maybe. If Maduro has direct control of them, he might say, knock it off. entirely. I don't know if we'd be willing to keep this level of force there if that's what would cause it. And it is important to point out that if it's truly about narcotics, which is a very worthy cause to go after, it would also include Peru, Colombia, and obviously Mexico, right? So this seems to be more about either forcing Maduro to leave, go to Cuba or somewhere, or actually set up for a Noriega-style operation, which would apprehend him. And he's already indicted in the United States. And we looked it up last time. I think he was indicted going all the way back to 2020.
Yeah.
So that could happen. Or foment a regime change organically. The problem is it's there's not a lot of historical references. If we do start bombing, that air capacity alone could force regime change, right? You tend to, when you attack the country, the problem is that even those who are disenfranchised with the government tend to rally around the flag. You see what I mean? Because it's their country.
Yeah, understandable.
Right? So I don't know. It just seems to be well beyond anything necessary for counter-narcotics operation. The rumor on the street is this military presence is going to expand to the Pacific. So I know we're already doing strikes there, but like this force is also going to expand to the Pacific. So there's a lot of issues that come with it. And I think we're on our 15th, the one last night.
Yeah,
I remember.
In the Caribbean.
Yeah, so 15 strikes. There's over 50 killed. So there is the issue of whether we should be pushing for regime change. There's the issue of whether we should be using lethal.
Whether it's
strikes,
legal, right?
Whether it's legal, yeah. There's the other issue of the constitutionality of Congress having no say. And I think the White House just came out and said, we don't think the War Powers Act applies. Therefore, 60 days, which is in the War Powers Act, 1973.
I don't understand how that doesn't apply.
Well, if the White House can simply decide on its own whether laws apply or Article 1 of the Constitution should be triggered. Or, and this is another thing that even Republicans, and as you know, I'm not partisan, but Republicans are pushing back against. They give a briefing and they exclude the Democrats in the Intelligence Committee. Like that.
Wait, come again? Say that one more time? Sorry.
So they gave a briefing on the intelligence that's obviously going into leading to these lethal strikes. Mm-hmm. And they excluded the Democratic side of the committee.
Jesus.
So
they gave a briefing to the committee?
Yeah, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence.
Usually has both Republicans and Democrats.
Correct.
Yikes.
I mean, that's not a... Remember this, whether you consider yourself one side or the other.
Yeah.
All this is setting a standard. So if you're going to be outraged, if you consider yourself on one side or the other, if the other side does it, then be outraged now.
Yeah.
Because, or your outrage is just, hypocrisies, in high supply in D.C. But come on, right? To start with the constitutionality of it, no president, whether it's President Trump, President Obama, Bush, or President Biden, has ever acknowledged that the War Powers Act is constitutional.
I got you. Okay.
Right? So they say, Article 2, I'm the commander-in-chief. You can't restrict me.
Yeah.
Congress obviously says, well, we're the ones that declare war. It says right in the Constitution, Article 1. We're the ones that raise armies and navies.
And
right
pay
there in the
for
Constitution. And set the rules. The issue I have is, okay, that's a clear, not a conflict, but a clear issue in the Constitution. The Supreme Court, I don't know what else they have better to do than decide what is the core function of any federal government, especially ours, is the decision to go to war or not. So if they pass this act, and I think I'm correct, fact check me listeners, I think it was in the 70s, 73. So we're talking like 50 years. The Supreme Court should, and I know they have ruled on part of it, but they just need to rule on the constitutionality of a period. right? So is the law constitutional based on Article 1 of the Constitution and their right to declare war? Yes or no? It shouldn't be.
It should be pretty cut and dry, yeah.
If you don't decide, then it's irrelevant. And right now, that makes Congress irrelevant. Because if the executive branch can say, we don't care what you have to say, then they can launch wars without any authorization. Any president, not just President Trump, indefinitely. Congress should cut off the money, but they're not going to cut off the money for the entire Defense Department. It's the only bill that passes, right? The National Defense Authorization Act. So anyway, that's my plug for today. Is this should be decided in a way that it's not unclear.
There should be open debate about it, right? Like,
sure, and then the Supreme Court should decide. And if they take away the War Powers Act, then we have the unitary executive when it comes to the power to wage war, which doesn't seem to be what the far right at the political spectrum has been saying for several years now should be the case. So they're going to be promoting something that they were saying the opposite of, but that's their issue. The issue that I think for Americans is, what is the actual constitutionality of the U.S. going to war, not going to war, limitations on that? When do they have to have authorization? And that's apart from the legality of these strikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if, and I'm not saying we're going to do this, I think it's very unlikely, but what if we're going to invade Venezuela, like full-on invade,
right,
regime change like we did in Iraq? Can you just
do it? Just raise, 250,000+ troops and then, sustain military operations for years at a time without approval of Congress? Like, at least the Iraq War was approved by Congress, right? Like,
right. And what I would be, well, I'll just pose it to the audience. You say, well, Congress can cut it off. Okay. But if the president, any president, can launch it, put our troops there, until it runs out of money, and then go to Congress and say, hey, you're going to cut off the troops in the field that are fighting right now?
Right.
That's a different conversation, right? What if you were Congress going like, no, we shouldn't be there, but the hell if I'm going to, right? So it's
they're easily tagged. Like, you can tag Congress people who are not going to fund like an ongoing military operation as like anti-troops and stuff like that. That's the last thing. One of the last things a congressman would want, or a senator.
Yeah. So I think that's what the issues are, at least as I see it. The legality. Now, I personally think, although I don't know, so I'll caveat with that there's no targeter in Defense Department or the CIA that's going to promote striking a target if they didn't have solid intelligence. I just don't see that to be the case. I don't see the military agreeing, like, we have no idea who these people are,
right?
And then just pulling the trigger on a Hellfire missile, killing everyone.
I totally agree with you. Like, they're absolutely like good at their job and what they do, targeting and carrying it out. But, even when, we had a ton of our bandwidth focused on Afghanistan or Iraq with like targeting and stuff, mistakes were made, right? Yeah. And at least Afghanistan and Iraq, and even the drone strikes, like in the tribal regions of Pakistan or Yemen or wherever, like going after AQ guys, like that was approved by law as covert operations for the CIA and probably JSOC to do, right? So, but I'm saying just mistakes are made, and like this isn't like I know they're bad guys and they're drug runners, but like the cartel boss isn't in those boats. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, you're not really doing anything to stem the flow anyway. Like, we've talked about it before. Fentanyl, everyone talks about how fentanyl's like this scary thing, and it absolutely is. It's deadly. That's made in China, right? We just had a China summit, where Trump met Xi Jinping. I mean, if you want to call that a win, they're all calling it a win. Literally nothing happened, like, at all. He rolled back some of the stuff he imposed. So it's like he created a problem, then fixed it. The problem that he created. It's like we're kind of back at square one, more or less. So I just don't see the value in doing this at all. Soup to nuts with Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, if they, looking at it from the White House perspective, obviously Maduro's a, a dictator, anti-democratic, taking a country that has $14 trillion worth of proven oil and gas, and
Sure.
somehow brought it into a collapse where 7 million people had to flee the country because they couldn't find food and come to the United States, right?
Yeah.
At least a lot of them. If they could show a force that just gets this guy to flee, and like who's his likely successor? Machado, who just won the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it's like a made for Hollywood movie, right? If it worked. I'm not saying she's going to come in and be perfect. Although my Stoic podcaster, we gave her the Rufus, which is who exemplified Stoicism, even if she doesn't consider herself a Stoic, because she is super impressive, and it wasn't not just because she won the Nobel Peace Prize, but so I mean, to their way of thinking, they show a force. If they could do it without even like launching an operation, and this guy departs, it's going to be messy. I mean, we all know that. It's not just going to be they're going to lift Machado up and take her down the streets of Caracas, and we've got
it's
Camelot.
A liberal democracy utopia. Right. No, it's not going
to. Everybody, I'm sure everybody listening knows that's not going to be the case. But if it does happen in any semblance of that, I think they would say, okay, so we show a force and it worked. So whether we're actually going to be willing to send in, there's a special operations vessel. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't all out in the public. Ocean Trader that's down there, right? So there's reports of the Marines on the Mew doing a lot of live fire practice. So that could all just be part of the show. It could be just to scare the bejesus out of Maduro and his henchmen. It could be to try to get the people around him to say, you know what, this guy has a big reward on his head. Let's just catch him, turn him over to the U.S. He's indicted. He'll get prosecuted, and they'll be rich. We'll avoid the actual conflict if they think it's happening. It could be that too. It could be all the above. There's even a report. I have no idea whether it's true, but I think it was. If it is, it's kind of cool that the agency was trying to recruit the pilot for Maduro.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. To just drop them off like in America or Puerto Rico.
Like, hey, this is not, Caracas.
I think they did that with the FBI. Did that with one El Mayo, the guy from the Sinaloa cartel, like El Chapo's like partner for a long time. Either I don't know if they like got to his own pilot, or like he just chartered a jet, but they chartered a jet in Mexico and they ended up in El Paso, Texas. That's where they landed, and that's where they arrested him. Yeah.
That'd just be funny.
Yeah. I mean, man,
realize he's landing in Miami instead of Caracas.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. I mean, I'm sure, but here's another fact. Like, it's been reported that like Maduro's regime has offered Trump and America their oil, like deals with them to get, and stopping deals with China and Russia. Everything that you'd think that Trump would go for. And again, like, I don't think all this bandwidth, like, I guess it's good for the troops and stuff and like our JSOC to like spin up and like get some practice. But I don't see the value in this whatsoever. And like, yeah, Machado got screwed over like 100%. But, take a map out and point at a country and, authoritarianism is rising everywhere, right? It's becoming a la mode, so I don't know. I don't see the real value in this. At least me as a regular American citizen. Like, I don't want to see guys die like for this shit.
Yeah, that's a very valid concern, right? I mean, any kind of military operations got risk, and this has substantial risks. So, I mean, that's why I think the agency, I don't know what my old group's doing or not, but if they could do something that reduces or removes a risk to U.S. military, that's one of the best things that the agency can do. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see. And I think, according to a lot of reporting, we might see this week what's going to happen.
It looks like it's about to happen. And once you hear, at least when I hear Trump say, it's fake news, it's like, okay, it's probably happening. I do have this circled and underlined. The word is distraction, question mark. Like, is this, we had Jack Murphy on, and Jack Murphy is obviously more of a cynic like I am. Is it a distraction? Because we can get the Florida National Guard together and probably take over and fuck up Venezuela militarily. Like, why are we picking on a smaller country that it's just like, it seems like an exercise in some, like, I just don't, there's no clear path to me. Like, I don't buy, like, I'm going back, I'm saying the same thing I said, but I don't see a clear path as to why we're doing this.
So and why our Florida National Guard scored away, by the way.
Absolutely.
A distraction of what, other political stuff? I mean,
yeah. Epstein files,
I mean, if you look back, I mean, at the history in the first Trump administration, there was a lot of discussion on this. There's a lot of discussion. So this isn't new. So that would be my argument against being a distraction to current other stuff, right? This is very consistent with the way the first Trump administration was going, and then several, different personalities in the first Trump administration, I think, persuaded President Trump the first away from it.
All right, so
those personalities aren't in this race.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, okay, I could totally see like the General Kellys, your old boss Jim Mattis, maybe. I think he's more like squared away though. John Bolton, the neocon, the prototypical neocons who are like, yeah, let's do it. Like, the Lindsey Grahams who are like, get so excited when there's an opportunity to bomb a country. Those guys aren't there anymore. I mean, John Bolton's under indictment. Like, those guys are not there anymore, right? Like, the quote unquote, and I'll give it like, guys like Jim Mattis, obviously, the adults in the room, General Kelly too, those guys are not there anymore. Mick, you were there, right? You guys were like the sage, like, guys who have been doing this your whole career, right? And have an understanding of what really goes on. It feels a little bit more like just kind of ready, fire, aim to me, dude. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. And I know that there was discussions about changing the regime the first administration, but I was the Middle East guy, right?
Sure.
Don't ask me.
Right? So I don't. The hall.
Right. Sure. But I do think that there was personalities at the time. You mentioned some, and I think it's important to point out that, when it comes to generals, like General Kelly and General Mattis, at least in my experience, or just military people in general, people think, oh, they're just going to be a hawk. They're generally not. It's kind of like the Spartans, The Spartans actually were very hesitant to go to war. Why? Because they were all very familiar with war, right? So it's easier to be a chicken hawk than a hawk that's actually been on the battlefield. So I am talking about them too, but I'm talking in general.
Sure.
But I don't know what their position was at the time. So I'm just saying that the to counter the idea that this is some kind of distraction that the administration's making up now, I think it's been around for a while. That's what I'm saying. So I think it's actually something they really, or whatever they're doing is something that they generally want to do, not for the sake of distraction.
Yeah. So, I mean, following the logic, right, of going after Venezuela because they're narco-terrorists and they're socialists. I mean, you hear that a little bit, but you're not really hearing more about like the drug stuff. That same logic should be applied to Mexico, frankly, because Mexico is like the biggest hub of like drugs into the United States. There's a reason why they have the biggest cartels. Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, and every single drug producing state, and specifically China too. It just seems like we're picking on the smallest guy on the block, bro. That's what it seems like. And I understand it's like, okay, yeah, Maduro's a piece of shit. Totally. But
Indeed.
There's so many pieces of shit in this world, like authoritative dudes,
So that would go to the argument that this is more about regime change, right?
Yeah.
Mexico elected their president. Yes, they do. I think 90% of the fentanyl comes from Mexico. So it's certainly a big deal. And I think we have designated a lot of the drug cartels that are Mexican based as foreign terrorist organization. But the idea of regime change in the country next to us and the country that elected, and no, but I think she's pretty competent, but that's not our choice, right? As well as, like Colombia, obviously we disagree with the president, but it's a different status than the guy who basically blocked his opposition to in Machado, and then her protege he did run against, who won, and then still said, "Ask her, I'm still
totally."
So it's that would make the argument that this is more about regime change for Venezuela than the overall issue of drugs coming into the United States.
Right. So
not that both are not important, but yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of this at all. I get like CIA get to work, right? Covertly with some JSOC help and stuff like that. You see an opportunity, take it, right? I'm totally fine with that. I just don't, just bombing fucking Venezuela, just, I don't know, to scare this guy into saying I'm done is wishful thinking, I would say.
I've always been and not just because that's the world I come from, a proponent of the agency, first diplomacy, right? Diplomacy should always lead U.S. foreign policy. But then the agency, and in some cases JSOC, doing everything we can to prevent it from being an actual war, right?
Yeah.
In fact, if we actually have to go to war, in some cases, I think that means we failed our mission, my whole organization. It's not our choice, but I think there's a lot of goodness in what we do to prevent an all-out conflict, not only for in the case of our military, because a lot of people would die, but whenever we have especially a conventional war, a lot of people die. Yeah. A lot of people die. A lot of people that shouldn't die. I mean, civilians that, are caught in the middle. So I think that is always something that we should be doing. And I'm sure we are. And maybe we haven't been successful, or maybe that's what they're waiting for. I don't know.
All right.
But there's also a real question about whether, the biggest democracy, or not the biggest, but, the oldest democracy in the world should be going around toppling governments. I think you could make an argument either way, as if it's an autocrat government. But the other part of the argument, whether you agree one way or the other, is shouldn't Congress have a say? The representative of the people, right? Because it's not that they individually are so important, but they represent the whole country, right?
Yeah. Every
district, every state. They are on the committees whose constitutional duty it is to oversee the Defense Department, CIA, obviously State Department.
Yeah.
To weigh in, to fund things, to not fund things.
I completely agree. I mean, we've seen more and more the last year or so, the oldest democracy in the world acting less and less like one, in my opinion. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Likely, if it does happen this week at some point, we'll be talking about it next week and doing a for lack of a better term, a post-mortem on it. All right, moving on. Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed after when he was on his way back from South Korea with talks with Xi Jinping about, this is so funny, calls for nuclear testing again in, I'm not going to write what I wrote. I'm going to say what I wrote. In a demented tweet after the summit meeting with Donald Trump. Some fun facts here. In his tweet, he wrote, other countries have testing programs. They do not. The last confirmed nuclear test was North Korea in September 2017. The last U.S. nuclear test was in 1992, Russian nuclear test in 1990, and Chinese test was in 1996.
Yep.
So what the fuck is he talking about, Mick?
So, well, let's first look at the options. He could be saying, this could be a response to, President Putin talking about testing this nuclear-powered missile, which NATO calls the Skyfall, that can be a nuclear weapon as well. So there's two parts, right? So you got nuclear-powered weapon systems, and you have nuclear weapons. In the case of with Russia's the Skyfall, it's both, right? So if he's talking about testing nuclear-powered means to deliver nuclear weapons, then okay. I mean, I think we already do that. I mean, we have nuclear powered submarines tooling all over the oceans right now, and guess what? They can deliver nuclear weapons. So in a way, we're testing ours all the time. Maybe he's talking about testing something the equivalent of the Skyfall. I would guess, and I don't know, or I wouldn't say, that we have something similar. Or that we've looked at the Skyfall and realized that it's not so important to spend that much money on. I mean, there's some discussion that it leaves a trail of radioactive, ness all over the place, and it's easy to track. Don't know if that's true, but if it is, then why waste the money doing it? You know what I mean?
Why waste the money building a nuclear reactor on a missile that you're going to run into?
It can be tracked all around the world because, and I don't know if this is the case, but if to give the president some leeway here, not that he needs it from Mick from Montana, but he might be talking about that. He might be simply talking about they're testing their means to deliver nuclear powered weapon systems to deliver a nuclear weapon. So, okay. Or he's talking about testing nuclear weapons. That's where, and you just laid out. So the NPTP, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that essentially would be broken because we would be testing nuclear weapons at a time where we're all concerned of the expansion of nuclear armed countries. So we have the most effective, I think, most resilient nuclear triad in the world. Right? We have over 5,000 nuclear weapons. We can launch them from land, sea, and air, and maybe space for all. I mean, we have a treaty about space too, but as far as I know, we could. Right? And it's the most modern. So even though Russia has slightly more, like 500 more or something, we have the most modern, most effective. We can test with computer models, not actually testing them. We're in the driver's seat. So I don't know why China has what, 600?
Yeah, I think just over 500, but they're worried that they're going to keep piling up.
And if we start testing, again, we don't know that's what he meant. So but we're just going on speculation now. If we start testing, then China might go, oh, cool. Now's their chance to expand our nuclear. One, they haven't done that many tests, and they're not that confident in their systems and their weapons. And they might use it to expand greatly and test it, and then they're more effective. I mean, the last thing we need is a more effective China with new nuclear weapons that have been tested. Yeah. Right? So that's one problem. It might invite other countries to do the same, or it would invite, not might. It's against the theory, or at least the underlying philosophy of the New START agreement, which is going to expire in February, next year. So a couple months. It would cost, what I read, over $100 billion just to get the Nevada test site ready to do it, and over $100 million a piece of tests to do, which is not done by the DoD. It's done by the Department of Energy and the National Nuclear Security Administration. So there's a lot of reasons. In fact, the reason why I'm wearing all these fancy duds is I'm going on to debate this, apparently, with a bunch of other folks on TV. And I asked the person that was producing it, like, is there somebody out there that's really pushing, like, this is a good idea?
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
It's like, because they called it a debate. And I said, well, I can get on and discuss it because I'm an analyst. I don't really.
Yeah.
But she indicated to me that somebody out there from the U.S. side is going to push nuclear testing. So I don't know how I'm going to be interested to hear that person's.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't get where you find. Yeah, we have the most advanced modeling in the world, or at least top 2, and let's still blow up nuclear weapons in the desert somewhere, or in the ocean, or wherever. Right. It makes fucking no sense, because the fact is, like, yeah, we're big and bad, our military, but we don't want to. Nobody wants to use nuclear weapons because we know what's the end result will be. Like,
yeah, look at a model of just a limited exchange between, say, Pakistan and India. Yeah, people go, oh, that'd be horrible for Pakistan and India. No, it'd be horrible for the world, man. Like it has major, massive environmental consequences that could significantly alter the ecosystem of the world and therefore make it a lot more difficult to grow food, of which millions could die. And I'm not trying to be like, you're Cassandra here. Just Google it. Just watch the random 6 models on a limited nuclear exchange, and I think you'll see that it's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it when India and Pakistan were getting a little squirrely like 6 months or so back. And we talked about what a limited exchange would do, and it would cost like the Americas would get fucked with like our food crops and stuff like that, and I think it was like 20 million people would die of fucking starvation.
Really bad.
Yeah, like some ungodly number.
Yeah. Let alone the people actually impacted. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch House of Dynamite.
I did, yeah. Did you? You liked it?
I did. Yep. I have my mutual friend of the director.
Ugh.
What? You don't like it?
The movie was great, and I have a buddy in that movie. He plays one of the nuclear guys in the beginning. Yeah, this kid Sam, awesome. Yeah, he was really good. Great speaking role too. The movie was gripping. I have a problem with Catherine Bigelow a little bit because I'm a movie snob. I've made a movie before, and
didn't she win like the Academy Award, man?
Yeah, for Hurt Locker, which like all military people from the team house on say is nonsense.
You didn't like Zero Dark 30 either?
Well,
let's stick to House of Dynamite because it's relevant to the work.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah. Maybe we'll touch on this after. All right.
Yeah,
House of Dynamite was great. It was super gripping. I loved like the different perspectives and stuff. It was a really good movie. Yeah,
my feedback was, and it was after the fact. I don't know if she cared or even got it, but one, I would have had a lot more debate, not just because I'm from the intelligence community, on who did it. Right? Like they go into the, should we just nuke the world? They're looking at the 3, there's always 3 options, by the way, in the military.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, who did it? They would be screaming, the president on down. They would force the IC to say, you tell us your best estimate of who launched this missile, or all the talk about what to do about it's irrelevant, right? And I know, I think in this scenario it was launched at sea to probably obscure who did it.
Yeah,
but it would be like they'd be retasking every damn satellite. They'd be sending everything that we have floating to that to find out. You know what I mean? Like and they would not have allowed the IC to say, we don't know. They just wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
right. So, and
just
maybe
for
political reasons.
Yeah. All right. We missed our intercept vehicle. Misses it. It's gonna blow. Spoiler: it's gonna explode in Chicago. Okay. Tell me what my options are now to just fucking nuke everybody. We're
not gonna nuke everybody, right?
Right. So let's figure out who the fuck. Like you said, yeah, absolutely.
They would have demanded it. They wouldn't have been a pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that should have been added. So the other issue, not ours, but the Pentagon said, "Oh no, we would have hit that thing. We have like 100% success rate." I don't think I know that's not the case. Everybody knows that's the case.
Yeah.
You're hitting a bullet with a bullet. You're never going to have 100% success rate. So I don't know if it would have been depicted like this. We got one shot at it and say, "Oh, there goes Chicago." Yeah. But to be fair to Miss Bigelow, is like you wouldn't have a movie if they hit it, right? It would be a short movie.
It's like, we're the best.
Okay, yeah. There had been a really short movie. So obviously they have to make it go through. The other thing, which is purely cinematic, not technical, is I think I would have showed the impact, right? Because you still don't know, and maybe she did this on purpose. So maybe she's like, that's why I did it. Whether we're chasing a ghost, whether we weren't chasing a ghost, but to really have that impact, and then maybe not even show what the U.S. response was.
Well, they didn't really show the U.S. response.
They couldn't because they didn't show the impact, whether it was actually a missile, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I should say spoiler alert at the beginning.
Sorry, guys. Oh, it's all right. You're still good. It just switched the. Yeah. It's a bit low, but that's all right. Yeah, I would say it was totally gripping. And she's good at that. Like Zero Dark 30 was a good movie. I guess maybe I'm just too connected with Team House and stuff like that to talk to like people and from what I understand is this, and I'm sorry, I know this is your former heads up. All right, I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we're okay. So this is your former outfit, right? The CIA basically wrote the story for her. And I think, yeah, like they let him in the room. Like Panetta let him in the room. Her and Mark Bowl.
You moving on to another movie you're talking about?
I'm talking about Zero Dark 30.
Oh yeah, I was just talking.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, House of Dynamite, totally good movie. You should watch it. It's on Netflix. Netflix, send us a check, please. Yeah, but so Zero Dark 30, just because I know you're in that world, and you don't have to say anything. The CIA welcomed them in open. And I'm not saying to not get, use whatever you can with sources and stuff like that, but it kind of feels like a CIA authorized movie, to be honest. And it's a cool movie, right? And obviously you're not going to show the teams of people that have worked on Bin Laden. It's better to like anthropomorphize the entire crew into one person. I understand that for dramatic effect. But but we all know that's not, the part where like the enhanced interrogation was like a big thing and that's how it was found and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say what I think I know, but like, I know that it wasn't just that, right? And I understand the dark history with the enhanced interrogation. And like, frankly, CIA people do what the president lets you do, right? And you're going to do, guys or girls are going to do what they can to get what they can to keep America safe. Like I would do the same thing if I was there. It just felt like nonsense. And I know at least there was a walk-in.
Yeah, I'm a little too close to that.
Okay, yeah, I got
it. If I start critiquing what's true and what's not, I'm done. Basically. I think I thought cinematically it was good. I knew a lot of it was accurate, as you know, because it's public. If I would say anything, that was, as a person who knew it was coming, was, out there doing stuff. I'll leave it at that. I knew it was coming for a while, and then we carried off, which every American was super proud.
For sure, me too.
And I was one of them. And then to see like every political figure in Washington tell every possible thing that they knew about, I was like, what the? Why did? Yeah. I mean, obviously we're going to celebrate, getting the guy who, as a country,
definitely.
But like, why talk about? I'm not even going to say it because it just justifies. Or not justifies, but they just said every possible thing that we did, which was awesome, and it had no reason to be in the public space.
Sure.
So if anything, since we can't undo time, we should collectively decide like not to in the future. And it had real consequences on people whose lives have been forever changed.
Totally.
Because somebody wanted to say something about a person that would help us, and yeah. So I think the movie cinematically was very well done. A lot of it was close, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you can't really get into specifics. And even Hurt Locker was a good movie, cinematically. But like when I hear from like guys who were on the ground, they were like, that would never be the case, right? I understand you need to take some dramatic license, but with the problem with Bigelow, and Bowl didn't write this new movie, but that guy Mark Bowl I have a problem with a little bit. He's a screenwriter, I think, for Zero Dark 30, and I believe Hurt Locker. I might be wrong. Is they take a lot. They act like, oh, I'm a journalist and I got this. This is fact based completely, and this is totally the truth. And it's like, it's not completely the truth. So stop talking like it is. Specifically, Mark Bowl. I got a real problem with Mark Bowl. He's a rat, in my opinion. So, and there's a long history, not having to do with me, but Bo Bergdahl, that whole thing, he's a piece of shit. Yeah, he's a bad guy with what he did with Bo Bergdahl. Because obviously Bo Bergdahl, he did a fucked up thing, walking off base, but he was clearly mentally ill. And, when we were in the wars, the Army did lower standards and stuff like that. Like, he couldn't get into the Coast Guard, and the Army let him in. So, shout out to the Coast Guard. You know what I'm saying? And this guy just kind of manipulated that kid, to be honest. Like a kid who was mentally ill. Like he manipulated the shit out of him when he got back. And he was in captivity for 5 fucking years. On top of that, can't be good for your mental health. But anyway, I digress. This is me being a nerd, like film, like movie guy.
So I do have to jump on my
all right, get the hell out of here.
About why we don't want to trigger a nuclear arms race.
Tell him it's a dumb idea from me, please. I want you guys to check out Mick, Fogbow, Lobo Institute, the new podcast. Link is in the description. And our Patreon, patreon.com/theteamhouse. You get Team House episodes and Eyes On episodes ad-free and early, and it helps support the show. Mick, as always, I love you.
Thanks, brother. Great talking to you. Another good episode.
All right. See ya. Hey, guys. How's it going? It's Dee. I want to thank you for watching the show. I really appreciate it. And I'd love for you guys to check out our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/theteamhouse. The link is in the description. Super easy to find. If you're listening, it's in the show notes as well. You can find it right there. What do you get? You get ad-free audio, ad-free video for both Eyes on Geopolitics and the Team House podcast. So 2 podcasts ad-free for the price of 1. You also get the shows a couple days early on both video and audio. And you have the opportunity to shoot us a message, ask questions, whether it's Team House or Eyes On. We could cover topics and stuff like that. It really, really helps support the show. We really appreciate the patrons that are there now. We couldn't do it without you guys. So consider supporting the show. It's at patreon.com/theteamhouse. The link is in the description and in the show notes if you're listening to us on audio. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.